Before we jump in, I've done my best to stay true to what is realistic in Star Wars lore, but in some areas I have chosen to have fun with it and lean into the what if spirit of it. Hello everyone, I hope that you are having a good day. So today's video is going to be covering what if Anakin had accompanied Ahsoka to Mandalore. Now of course we see that Anakin and Obi-Wan are called to aid Chancellor Palpatine in the attack on Coruscant. But what if the Council had decided to split Obi-Wan and Anakin up? See, I think that it's very real to realize that Obi-Wan could have gone and aided another Jedi and clone battalion, perhaps Mace Windu and his clones, in the Battle of Coruscant, in rescuing Chancellor Palpatine. Obi-Wan goes to Coruscant while Anakin goes with Ahsoka and Rex and the rest of the 501st to capture Maul and liberate Mandalore. Now, of course, the obvious situation would be that Obi-Wan go and stop Maul and Anakin go rescue the Chancellor. But I think it's this reason that would cause the Council to say, no, let's flip that. Anakin go to Mandalore, Obi-Wan go to the Chancellor. This is because both Jedi have personal feelings and personal connections that would cloud their judgment with both. Anakin and his relationship to Chancellor Palpatine, and of course Obi-Wan and his relationship to Maul. Those relationships would cloud their judgment and make it more difficult. The Council would see this and send Anakin to Mandalore and Obi-Wan to Chancellor Palpatine. Now this then begs the question, what would have happened if Anakin went to Mandalore? How would this influence the events of Revenge of the Sith and even the Siege of Mandalore? Would Anakin have still turned to the dark side? Would Maul have been captured or killed? Would Obi-Wan be successful in rescuing the Chancellor? Now I want to focus on Anakin and Ahsoka and Rex and their mission to capture Maul. Leading the charge on Mandalore, Anakin, Rex, and Ahsoka would quickly seize control of the capital city, just as Ahsoka had on her own. Almec would be captured and Maul would be in hiding. Almec would then hint to Anakin that Maul wanted him here. Confused, Anakin would continue to interrogate Almec, not getting much more information. And during this time, Ahsoka and Rex would continue to look for Maul, continue to follow the hints of Maul's location. After a while, Anakin doesn't hear from them and begins to worry that they have been captured. The stress of this siege, the stress of wondering what happened to Obi-Wan, would cause Anakin to sneak off and make contact with his wife Padme. She begins to tell him that something wonderful has happened. But before she's able to reveal what she is going to say, the holo device is crushed. Out of nowhere, Anakin hears a dark voice say, "Now that I have your attention." And out of the shadows, Maul emerges. Anakin demands to know where Ahsoka is. But Maul calmly tells him that he had sent her on a trail of pointless clues, and he really just wanted Anakin alone. At this point, Maul would tell Anakin his role as Darth Sidious's future apprentice, that Darth Sidious has been controlling the Clone Wars from the start, from both sides. Anakin had heard this from Obi-Wan's report, that first battle of Geonosis, when Dooku had told him the same thing. And Anakin began to put pieces together until he knew what Maul was about to say. Maul's words only confirmed what Anakin had just put together, that Palpatine was in fact the Sith Lord they were looking for. It made sense now, based off conversations he had had with Palpatine, with moments that seemed strange after the fact. Anakin had put the pieces together, but he is still in denial that he could be Palpatine's new apprentice. Enraged by this, he ignites his lightsaber and engages Maul in a duel. The two clash sabers and engage in one of the more intense lightsaber battles of Anakin's time. It had been a while since he had fought anybody with this athleticism. Of course, he had gone up against Dooku before, and Dooku, with all of his finesse, was a formidable opponent that Obviously, Anakin had never gotten the best of, but Maul moved everywhere so quickly. With flips and twists, Maul was a different kind of opponent than Dooku, but Anakin could see through his style, and eventually began to overpower Maul until finally Anakin disarms the Zabrak and kicks him to the ground. Holding his lightsaber to Maul's neck, he demands more information and he demands surrender. Maul just laughs, telling him that the things that are about to take place cannot be undone, that Sidious's plan is coming into fruition, and if Anakin were to strike him down, that would only bring him a step closer to being Darth Sidious's future apprentice. Anakin is deaf to all of this. All he wants is to end this Zabrak's babbling, and he raises his lightsaber with determination to end him. But before he can bring his lightsaber down on the Zabrak's head, he hears a familiar voice, "Anakin!" He turns and he sees Ahsoka standing next to Rex. They've both entered the room. "Anakin, it's over," Ahsoka says. Realizing who he was about to become, Anakin deactivates his lightsaber and drops it to the ground. At this moment, 2 clone troopers arrive and put Maul in cuffs. It's over. Mandalore is liberated and Maul is in custody. His job was done. At this, Maul begins screaming that they're all going to die, that Sidious is going to rise to power, and that things as they know it will not be the same. It's all a blur to Anakin. Everything he knew is not the same. He's confused, and yet his first thought is for Padme, his wife. He couldn't help but notice that something was wrong. He couldn't help but worry for her. A feeling similar to before his mother's death begins to overtake him. Ahsoka places her hand on Anakin's shoulder, saying, "It's over, we did it. Let's go home." They load Maul up onto the Republic cruiser and begin the journey back to Coruscant. As soon as Maul is loaded up, Anakin immediately moves to his private quarters, where he reaches out to the Jedi Council, and he waits for them to answer. It's taking longer than usual. Usually he'd be able to make contact with somebody by now. Something must be wrong. I hope you'll join me for part 2 of this story. What if Anakin had gone to Mandalore with Ahsoka? I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment. What did you think? What do you think would have happened if Anakin went with Ahsoka? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more Star Wars content. It's dead silent. At the same time on Coruscant, Obi-Wan and the rest of the council are hours into a closed meeting. No communication from the outside. And at the center of the council chambers, their prisoner, Count Dooku, stands. See, the council had sent Obi-Wan and the 212th, along with the Coruscant Guard and Mace Windu, to rescue the Chancellor above Coruscant. General Grievous had captured him and held him prisoner. Mace and Obi-Wan were able to capture Count Dooku and even eliminate General Grievous. The end of the war was at hand, but the mystery of the Sith Lord was still looming over them. This interrogation of Dooku was leading to nothing. He would give up nothing. He said almost nothing for hours. Mace thought that maybe the power of the council combined could grant them access to Dooku's mind through the Force, as they had done with Cad Bane, but I guess that was different. Bane was just a bounty hunter, a cunning one at that. But that still paled in comparison to a Sith Lord. Dooku said nothing of any help, only his usual, "The Jedi are arrogant, blind, and have lost their way." Same goes for the Republic. After hours of getting nowhere, Yoda finally called for a break in the session, and Dooku was taken back to his holding cell. On his way out, Dooku called over the shoulder of the temple guards, saying back to Yoda, "Your judgment has been unclear, my old master, but soon the dark side will reveal itself." Obi-Wan looked at Mace. "I think that we have probably kept Anakin waiting long enough, haven't we? I'm anxious to hear his full report." Mace seemed to just snort at that. The council would then make contact with Anakin, and Anakin would tell them that the battle went smoothly and that Mandalore was liberated. And, well, Maul was also in custody. Moving on, he then explained what Maul had said about Darth Sidious's identity and him being Chancellor Palpatine. After a moment of silence, a long moment of silence, the council would then agree that this information makes sense, but an arrest on Chancellor Palpatine without evidence would take them to a dark place. The Jedi would be seen as trying to overthrow the Republic. but finally they would agree that the arrest needed to happen as soon as possible. They had realized that it was their duty to do what was right and protect the galaxy. They had strayed so far from their mandate as Jedi over the course of the war. Maybe it was their hours-long interrogation with Dooku, and him saying this over and over again. Council had realized they had played politics long enough that it was time to do the right thing. So plans were made to send Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, and Saesee Tiin to arrest the Chancellor. Surely 4 members of the Jedi Council would be enough. Anakin protested that they weren't waiting for him. This was his information, after all, that would lead to the capture of Darth Sidious, but he chose to put his head down and terminate the transmission. Anakin knew that Yoda could sense that he had more to say, but he wasn't going to tell them what Maul had said about him being Sidious's next apprentice. After all, that was absurd, wasn't it? He was the chosen one. He was the one who would bring balance to the Force, right? While Mace and the other Jedi went to the Chancellor's office, Yoda headed off to the temple holding cells. As the Republic cruiser made its way above Mandalore's surface, Anakin returned to Ahsoka and Rex on the command bridge. He briefed them on the Council's plan to arrest Palpatine, but Ahsoka could sense that her old master was conflicted and frustrated. He was hurting. And suddenly, in the silence, Rex spoke up, pondering out loud. If the Chancellor is really behind everything, that means... He and Anakin shared a glance, and at the same time blurted out a name. Fives! Rex, pull up everything we have on Fives, especially the events surrounding his death. They rewatched everything. Security footage, mission reports, and more. At the time, it had seemed ridiculous, but now it made sense. And touching the side of his head, Rex looked at Ahsoka and Anakin. We need to prep the medical bays now, he said. Within minutes, the inhibitor chips were discovered in the 501st, and within hours, every clone on the cruiser had their chips removed. The 501st were free of whatever dark plot lay ahead. Moments after the command crew called out, "We're approaching Coruscant." Meanwhile, on Coruscant, everything was taking place sooner than expected. Palpatine stared out the window of his office, sooner than he expected, missing some of his key pieces, namely Anakin Skywalker, but things were still in his favor. He turned to Mas Amedda. "Get me Commander Fox." Of course. Shortly after, Palpatine stood in front of the holo projection of Commander Fox, the clone in command of the Coruscant Guard. Palpatine didn't see the clones beyond being tools of war, but he was particularly fond of Fox's ambition and shrewdness. "Commander Fox, execute Order 66. "It will be done," Fox responded. The Jedi team of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, and Saesee Tiin approached the Senate building. The entrance was crawling with clone troopers of the Coruscant Guard. Their comms had been going off consistently over the last hour. Clones were inexplicably turning on their Jedi generals across the galaxy. They had already lost Aayla Secura, Plo Koon, and Ki-Adi-Mundi, just to name a few. Meanwhile, Anakin commanded his now free 501st Command crew to land their cruiser near the Senate building. To him, it seemed safer to blend in with the other Republic cruisers by the Senate building rather than going to the Jedi Temple. The 501st, led by Anakin, made their way to the entrance of the Senate building. There was clearly something going on here. Anakin made contact with Obi-Wan, who tells him where they are hiding. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Rex break off from the 501st to meet up with the 4 Jedi Masters. Obi-Wan tells Anakin what is happening around the galaxy. Enraged, Anakin suggests that the 501st engage the Coruscant Guard while the Jedi move to capture Palpatine. Capturing Palpatine would have to bring an end to this disaster. Ahsoka and Rex would lead the attack on the Coruscant Guard while Mace, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Saesee Tiin moved to arrest Palpatine. The battle would enrage quickly. The 501st would move in on the unexpected Coruscant Guard. Despite being outnumbered, the 501st would have the element of surprise. The Coruscant Guard would have no reason to expect the 501st had removed their chips. The battle is fierce, but at the end of the day, it would only be a distraction so that the Jedi could slip in and capture Palpatine. As the Jedi approached Palpatine's office, they were met by several guards clad in red. Despite the apparent skill of the guards, they were no match for the Jedi. And at last, the door to the Chancellor's office opened up. "Master Jedi, I see you're all here sooner than I expected. I hear the mission to capture Maul was a success, but you've yet to extract any information from Dooku about this elusive Sith Lord." "No need," an annoyed Anakin said. "Maul gave me all the information I need." He said this as he arrogantly charged towards Palpatine. "Anakin, no!" Obi-Wan said. "My boy, so powerful yet so foolish." And with a wave of his hand, Palpatine confirmed his identity as Darth Sidious by tossing Anakin out the door. Anakin lay in the hall unconscious next to the red guards. A quick flick of Palpatine's wrist resulted in a lightsaber in hand. Igniting his crimson saber, Palpatine leapt for the three Jedi Masters. And immediately Saesee Tiin was stabbed through the heart. Seeing this as an opportunity to strike, Kenobi stepped towards Palpatine, bringing his lightsaber down on the Sith Lord, only to have it blocked by a second lightsaber that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Capitalizing on Kenobi's moment of shock, Sidious slashes with one saber while the other blocks an attack from Mace Windu. The speed of Palpatine was beyond anything Obi-Wan had faced. Obi-Wan held his ground for a time before feeling the burn of Sidious's lightsaber streak across his back. He collapsed in pain, unable to move. At this moment, Mace made a move on Sidious before he could finish Obi-Wan off. It was a one-on-one duel at this point. Mace would channel all of his training and his unique fighting style to end this once and for all. Mace and Palpatine's duel would ensue much like it does in Revenge of the Sith. But eventually, Commander Fox and a few of his ARC troopers rushed into the Chancellor's office. They begin to fire at Windu, who is now managing Sidious and blaster fire. Before long, he's unable to keep up and is hit by several blaster bolts. Dropping to his knees, Mace knows that he is lost. Palpatine lets out a ruthless laugh as he commands Fox to finish the job. But Mace resolves that he won't go down without a fight. He charges Fox, activating his lightsaber, and he decapitates the commander, only to be met by a barrage of fire from the ARC troopers. Sidious laughs as Mace drops to the floor dead. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Coruscant Guard has recovered from the surprise attack of the 501st and begins to tighten the defenses around the Senate building. They only have to protect the Chancellor. After several minutes pass, dropships begin flying over the battlefield, and the 212th, led by Commander Cody, join the Coruscant Guard. Rex and Ahsoka would continue to push the attack, but their forces were quickly getting overrun. Eventually, Rex would pick up on Commander Cody's strategies as they had written most of them together. This would give the 501st enough of an edge to regroup and make a final push. Back in the Chancellor's office, Darth Sidious stood over Anakin Skywalker as he came to. "Rise, my friend." Sidious had spent years manipulating Skywalker. The circumstances were rushed, but he was convinced that he could turn Anakin Skywalker to the dark side. The battle outside the Senate building came to a close. The 501st was successful in breaking the defenses of the Guard and the 212th. After that, the battle was quick. The survivors, including Commander Cody, were taken into custody, and Ahsoka ordered that their chips be removed. Now she was anxious. The battle was done here, but she only wanted to rush to Anakin's aid in the arrest of Palpatine. They should be back by now, she thought. At this point, Master Yoda arrived, accompanied by Count Dooku. Yoda explained to Ahsoka that Dooku could now see that he had just been a tool of Darth Sidious, and that he had offered to help right his wrongs. Of course, he would eventually have to pay for his war crimes against the Republic, but Yoda could sense that he had truly seen his error. Plus, having Dooku help with Sidious would give him a welcome advantage. Yoda could sense that the Jedi Masters who had gone to arrest Palpatine had been defeated. So Dooku and Yoda entered the Senate building together. In Palpatine's office, Anakin knelt before Darth Sidious. He was weakened by a barrage of Force lightning. Sidious had been torturing Anakin, while saying things that dug deep at all of Anakin's fears. Things like, "The Jedi have never truly trusted you," They don't see your power. And worst of all, let me show you the power needed to save Padme from death. Anakin was most concerned by this because he had not told anyone of his dreams, of his visions of Padme's death. But somehow Sidious knew. All of Anakin's fear, anger, and hate began to boil. He looked up at the man who had been like a father to him. At that point, he harbored so much hate for him. It had all been a ploy to manipulate him. But Anakin couldn't bring himself to make a move. Everything Sidious said and offered brought a strange feeling of fulfillment to Anakin. After a long few moments, Anakin finally looked up at Sidious and said, "If I join you, you'll show me how to save Padme, right?" Anakin's wrist comm had been on in that moment. Ahsoka heard Maul's words on Mandalore become reality. Anakin had become Palpatine's new apprentice. Her heart broke. She didn't know what to do, but she could hear the words of Yoda from her time as a Padawan. Trust in the Force. So that is what she was going to do. Ahsoka told Rex to finish the post-battle cleanup without her, and she hopped in a speeder and left. In Palpatine's office. "Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Vader." Anakin was now a Sith apprentice. At this point, he felt a confusing presence. The presence of Yoda, but also Dooku? Dooku's deep voice reverberated through the office. "I hope you know he only offers lies, Skywalker." Anakin turned to see Grand Master Yoda and Count Dooku standing at the entrance to the office. Palpatine simply laughed at the sight of his former apprentice standing next to his old master. "Now, Lord Tyrannus, did I ever lie to you?" Sidious said from under his freshly donned hood. Before Dooku could respond, Sidious sent Force lightning his way, knocking Dooku to the ground. Beckoning to Anakin, Sidious and his new apprentice made a move toward the exit, but Yoda leapt in front of them. "If so powerful you are, why leave?" Yoda drew his lightsaber just as Dooku staggered to his old master's side. Drawing his curved hilt from his belt, the two faced Darth Sidious and Darth Vader together. Anakin leapt for Dooku first. Finally, he would get a chance to resolve this game of cat and mouse they had been playing since the Clone Wars began. Yoda and Sidious charged each other. The two masters would engage in a furious lightsaber battle that would quickly end as they would both abandon their weapons for the use of their superior knowledge in the Force. Sidious sent unending volumes of Force lightning at Yoda, pouring all of his hate into attacking the Grand Master. On the other side of the lightning, Yoda caught Sidious's attack with great effort. He could not fail. Too much was at stake. Anakin and Dooku's lightsabers lit up the now dark office. Their familiar dance was different now. In past duels, Anakin was holding back. Dooku had always sensed great fear in him. He had hate, he had anger, but he never used them. But now he did. After minutes of impressive demonstrations of power, Sidious finally broke through Yoda's defense, and with a massive bolt of Force lightning sent the Jedi Master flying across the room. Yoda was now unconscious. Sidious chose to leave him for now because something else caught his attention across the room. Darth Vader had quickly overpowered his former apprentice and had Dooku's neck pinned between both of their lightsabers. Sidious let out a laugh. "Good, Lord Vader, good. Now kill him." Anakin was about to, when he heard a familiar voice. "Anakin!" He looked to see his wife Padme. It was only a moment, but seeing Padme and Ahsoka together suddenly grounded him. Sidious sensed his hesitation and snarled. He thrust his saber through Dooku's back while at the same time sent lightning straight for Padme. Ahsoka jumped in front of her, attempting to block the lightning, but the force of it knocked both of them to the ground. Enraged that Sidious would dare attack Padme, Anakin leapt forward, but Sidious was ready. The duel between Anakin and Sidious was fierce. Sidious was fast and clearly a master swordsman, but Anakin fell deep into the Force, fueled by his anger. This gave him an edge. an edge that Sidious was both proud of, but quickly beginning to fear. Finally, Anakin disarmed Sidious and kicked him to the ground. "I am going to end this." Reaching out with the Force, Anakin lifted Sidious off of the ground, choking him. His eyes burning with rage, Sidious squirmed for relief, and finally tossing the Sith Master to the ground, Anakin suddenly felt conflict. He felt himself going down a dark path that he knew he couldn't return from. It wasn't the Jedi way to kill Sidious this way. What would Padme think? But before he could do anything, 2 blue lightsaber blades erupted from Sidious's chest. An expression of shock overtook Darth Sidious as he fell to the ground dead. Behind him was Ahsoka. "Ahsoka," Anakin said. "It's okay, Anakin. I'm not a Jedi anymore," Ahsoka said, sensing what Anakin was thinking. Anakin and Ahsoka called Rex and a few clones up to help with Obi-Wan and Yoda, who were wounded but would be okay. They also moved the bodies of the fallen Jedi Masters, including Dooku. Over the following weeks, Anakin and Ahsoka would lead the 501st in facing clone battalions across the galaxy. They would set their weapons to stun and remove the chips of each battalion they defeated. Soon the clones were all liberated from their Order 66 mandate. The Grand Army of the Republic was free. During these weeks, the Separatists had also officially surrendered and shut down all battle droid units, bringing an end to the Clone Wars. With so much death, Yoda's eyes were open to the arrogance of the Jedi Order. Anakin was offered a seat on the council, but he declined it, choosing to leave the Order to be with Padme and raise their family. After seeing the sacrifice of so many Jedi, Ahsoka's faith in them had been restored, and she rejoined the Order. Well, I hope that you enjoyed the conclusion to my What If Anakin Went to Mandalore series. Obviously, the events of Revenge of the Sith would be different if Anakin had gone to Mandalore, and this has been my take on that. Let me know in the comments below, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day.